Have you ever sat alone in a quiet room and felt the silence pressing against you? Not the peaceful kind of silence, the heavy kind. The kind that makes you hyper-aware of every thought in your head, every doubt, every question, every feeling you've been too busy to face. That feeling is loneliness, and most of us have been taught to run from it, to fill it, to fix it. But what if loneliness isn't the problem? What if it's the invitation? We've been misunderstanding loneliness for a long time. We treat it like a wound, a sign that something has gone wrong, that we are broken, unwanted, or left behind. We associate it with weakness, with failure. But loneliness at its core is not just a feeling, it is a state in which your mind begins to narrow its vision, and in doing so, begins to focus. Think about that for a moment. In the noise of everyday life, the conversations, the obligations, the endless scroll of other people's lives, your own inner voice gets drowned out. You're reacting, you're performing, you're moving through the world at someone else's rhythm. But in loneliness, the noise stops, and suddenly you become the loudest thing in the room. You become more conscious, more aware, more deeply, uncomfortably, unavoidably yourself. And when that happens, when you are truly alone with yourself, the big questions begin to surface. Who am I, really? What am I doing with my life? What actually matters to me? Where am I going? And is that where I truly want to go? These are not comfortable questions, but they are the right questions. Loneliness creates the conditions for depth, for honesty, for the kind of self-examination that crowded, distracted lives simply do not allow. This is the moment where you stop skimming the surface of your existence and begin asking what lies beneath. Where you stop following the current and ask, for perhaps the first time, whether you even want to be in this river at all. This is not suffering. This is awakening. Here is a perspective shift I want you to hold on to. Loneliness is not a curse. It is a filter. Because what loneliness does, when you let it work on you instead of against you, is it begins to separate what truly matters from what doesn't. It filters the noise from the signal, the distraction from the direction, the people who were filling your time from the people who were truly feeding your soul. It filters out the paths you were walking out of habit, out of fear, out of expectation, and leaves behind only the paths that are genuinely, authentically yours. Loneliness asks you, what do you actually want? What do you actually believe? What kind of person do you actually want to become? And when you answer those questions honestly, not the answers you perform for others, but the ones you whisper to yourself at 2 a.m., that is where clarity begins. That is where conscious decision-making is born. Loneliness is not the darkness. It is the lamp. Now, this clarity, this awakening, often leads us to one of the oldest and most urgent questions a human being can face. What is the meaning of my life? Viktor Frankl, one of the most profound thinkers of the 20th century, a man who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, wrote in his landmark book, Man's Search for Meaning. This meaning is unique and specific in that it must and can be fulfilled by him alone. Only then does it achieve a significance which will satisfy his own will to meaning. Your meaning is yours alone. It cannot be borrowed from someone else's life. It cannot be inherited from your culture or copied from someone you admire. It is not handed to you by society, by religion, or by an algorithm. It must be found by you, lived by you, fulfilled by you. And loneliness is often the very crucible in which that search begins. Because when you are stripped of the external identities, the friend group, the role, the routine, what remains is the raw, essential you. And that is exactly where meaning-making starts. But I want to be honest with you. Not everyone who sits alone in that silence walks out with a clear sense of purpose. Not everyone finds the answer. And if you are in that place right now, if life feels genuinely, stubbornly meaningless, I do not want to dismiss that with easy reassurance. So let me offer you a different philosopher, a different kind of courage. Albert Camus believed that human life is inherently without fixed meaning, that there exists a fundamental, inescapable conflict between our desperate desire for purpose and the universe's cold, silent indifference to that desire. He called this the absurd, and his response to it was not despair, it was defiance. Camus argued that once you accept the absurdity of existence, once you stop demanding that the universe justify itself to you, something remarkable becomes possible. You become free. Free to create your own meaning. Free to live with full intensity, full passion, full presence. Not because life has a grand cosmic answer, but precisely because it doesn't. You don't wait for meaning to be granted, you build it. You choose what matters. You choose how to live. You choose every single day to say yes to life, even in the face of the void. There is something almost rebellious about that, something deeply, quietly powerful. So let us come back to where we began. That quiet room, that heavy silence, that feeling pressing against your chest. What if, instead of reaching for your phone, instead of numbing it, distracting it, escaping it, you sat with it? What if you let loneliness do what it is designed to do? Because here is what I believe. Loneliness is not the end of the story. It is not a destination. It is not a verdict on your worth or your future. Loneliness is a passage through which, if you are willing to walk consciously, you emerge with something rare in this loud, distracted, overwhelmed world. You emerge with yourself, with clarity about who you are, with honesty about what you want, with a direction that is truly, deeply yours. Not one that was handed to you, but one that you chose with open eyes. The French have a phrase, joie de vivre, the joy of living. Not the performed joy, not the curated, filtered, highlight reel joy. The raw, conscious, chosen joy of a person who has looked at the darkness, asked the hard questions, and decided, deliberately decided, to move toward the light. That joy is available to you, but it often begins in the very place you least want to go. It begins in the silence. It begins in the loneliness. It begins in the moment you stop running and start listening. So the next time loneliness finds you, do not ask, "What is wrong with me?" Ask instead, "What is this trying to show me?" Because loneliness has a purpose. And now, perhaps, you understand it a little better.